Hello, welcome back. I'm Blaze from Weeping Willow Wellness, and this is video 3 in our Whole Body Communicator mini course. So, you got that? Video 3. So, if you skipped around or you didn't do video 1 or skipped some of video 2, make sure you go back because what we're going to be diving into today has to be built upon the foundation of videos 1 and 2. There is no way to heal your communication with others if you don't have that base level sensation tracking in your body and that awareness of your body, and also the awareness of how what's going on in your own head, your own self-talk might be sabotaging you. These foundations are key. All of the work I've done with clients for years has really proven that to me. So that's why I have it set up this way in this mini course and in the work I do one-on-one with clients. That's why I start each of my private clients by assessing where they're at with awareness of their body sensations and how to work with resourcing their bodies, and starting with the somatic practices and then moving through the communication with themselves, how to reframe their mindsets, make sure they're in growth mindset. Hopefully you remember all this. This is all tracking for you because you've already watched 1 and 2. That's amazing. And if that's the case, let's dive right in. This is Interpersonal Comms, a mini lesson in setting boundaries, WBC style. How do you speak to others? Bringing it home, lesson 3. This is the part you probably thought you might be receiving in a communication course, right? Now that you have that fluid, open communication with your body and with your higher self, you're ready to dive into healing your communication with other people. So just say what you mean to say, right? Can I just leave it there? Say what you mean to say. All right, all right. I only sang in 2 out of 3 videos. But really, we wish it was that simple, right? But here's where the rubber meets the road because you get to apply all of these amazing skills that you've learned in video 1 and 2, whether it's crushing a presentation at work, communicating lovingly and clearly with a partner, healing your communication with your children when you're overwhelmed, which has been a big one for me. I've talked about it a lot. Or asking for something that you really need from a family member, a community member, a partner, a lover, and even learning to say no when you need to. All of these facets of communication affect so many different parts of our lives, and they're all possible when we implement the tools we learned in video 1 and 2. When we are able to be resourced in our bodies and our self-talk is empowering us, all of this communication and all the ways that this communication affects so many parts of our lives are fixed. So this is the part of the work where in the one-on-one container of Whole Body Communicator, the long-term 12-week coaching program, we would personalize our whole approach and really get focused on exactly what parts of your communication you need the most support with and how we're going to tailor those ways that you're working with your body and yourself. But for the purposes of this course, I decided to focus on boundary setting because this is a universally applicable tool. Everybody needs to know how to set a boundary. And boundaries can help heal trauma and communication for all of us and heal our trauma patterns. So here's a step-by-step guide for applying the whole body communicator somatic modality to boundary setting. I'm going to read through these steps and then I'm going to break it down one by one even more. So set your boundary. Number 1, notice if and where you feel blocked in your body. Number 2, resource yourself somatically. Number 3, empower your self-talk. Number 4, strategize your communication, words, set and setting, delivery. 5, deliver your boundary. Number 6, resource yourself somatically again. 7, hold the boundary. 8, if desired, create space for processing. All right, let me walk it back and go through each of these steps one by one in more depth. So any boundary you might need to set, whether it's something at work, something with a loved one, um, even setting a boundary for yourself, that totally counts. The first step is noticing if and where you feel blocked in your body. So taking time to scan your body for sensations of what feels blocked. Notice where you feel tension. Notice if you feel jittery energy anywhere that could be blocking you. Notice if you feel really sluggish, more of a collapse response. You want to set this boundary and your energy is going down every time you need to do it. Notice if you're feeling avoidant energy. So every time you're going to do it, your body cues you something else that you need. Oh, actually, I just need to go to the bathroom. I can't do this right now. I gotta go to the bathroom. I just need some water. I just need a quick snack. It's okay if these are things you actually need, but if they're just your body like diverting your attention elsewhere, see if you can sit away from those distractions and notice where you feel blocked. Resource yourself somatically. Step 2. This can look like any number of things, and this is where it does really help to work one-on-one or even in our group container. Um, but resourcing yourself somatically could look like going for a quick walk. If you are feeling like you're having so much avoidant energy and you have like a lot of excess energy, go for a quick walk and see if that helps you let go some of that anxious extra energy. Maybe it's doing a breath practice, the hand to heart practice, contacting the polyvagal nerve center at the center of the chest and adding some calm. Maybe it's some tapping, a tapping practice, EFT tapping. Maybe it's taking a nap. Maybe it's finding a really supportive position. I do a lot of work with pillows and bolsters, showing our body what it feels like to be held and supported and feeling really safe and nourished in our space. There's any number of ways to resource yourself somatically. Those are just a few examples. If you want more, please email me. I'd love to tell you more. Step 3, empower your self-talk. If you're trying to set a boundary and every time you go to do it, you're like, well, I don't really need to do that. Or, oh, it would be really low-key kind of selfish of me to set that boundary. Or like, who do I think I am setting a boundary like that? That is so aggressive. Giving yourself these kinds of statements is not going to support you. If you are giving yourself character statements like, you're kind of a pushover, how do you think you're going to set a boundary if you're telling yourself, you're usually kind of a pushover character statement, and then expecting yourself to set and hold a boundary? Your brain's not going to give you that evidence. Remember that thing in video 2 where your brain wants you to be right? Your brain wants to give you evidence to be right. So make sure that your self-talk is empowering you. So you are saying things to yourself like, I remember that time I set a boundary with my friend and it felt really good. I remember uh, how it feels to step into my own truth. I know that when I use my voice, I am rewarded. Give yourself all the self-talk that you can. Notice your behaviors, like we did in part 2, your behaviors and your skills. So if the boundary setting is speaking to a figure of authority clearly, notice when have you spoken really clearly to a figure of authority and pair that with a skill, a somatic skill, so that you feel really, really supported. Step 4, strategize your communication, words, set and setting, and delivery. So your words do matter. You could practice writing it out, journaling out what you're going to say. You could practice asking a friend or, if you're working with a practitioner or a therapist, talking to them about it, figuring out, strategizing exactly how you want your delivery to go. Set and setting really matter. Don't come to people to set a boundary when they're really distracted or they're already really agitated or you are really stressed for time. You have like 2 seconds to say this. This may be not the right time. Do the best you can with set and setting. Certain things, sometimes boundaries have to be set like immediately in the situation to change the situation, you know. But if you have time to pick a really nourishing set and setting, that can help. And then delivery. Be clear, be concise. Don't say, "Hey, like if you wanted to do this thing differently, like maybe we could consider that." No. If you're setting a boundary, say exactly what you need, how both parties will know when that need has been met, why you need it, and then leave it there. You don't need to hem and haw. You don't need to give everyone a backdoor out of it. You just set it. And then once you've got all that strategized, number 5, deliver your boundary. Make sure you're still somatically supporting yourself throughout. Connect with your breath. If you start to feel jittery again, notice all the somatic tools that you have at your disposal. And 6, resource yourself somatically again after you set the boundary. Sometimes we go to do something really difficult in our communication, like giving a presentation or setting a boundary with someone that we feel really anxious about. And we get through it and we're just like, whew, okay, cool, on with the rest of my day. And the piece that's missing is actually checking back in with our body. Oh, how are we doing, body? Okay, noticing, do I need a sip of water to bring my cortisol levels down after that? Do I need a quick shakeout practice to let any extra energy that was kind of being held back while we delivered that boundary? Notice if there's anything else in your body. Do you need to give yourself a really big hug, a somatic hug? I love you, body, for carrying me through that experience. Mm. Then we get to step 7, hold the boundary. Now, this can be tricky. A lot of times, holding a boundary means repeating steps 1 through 7 a few times. I'll use my pronouns for an example. I use they, them pronouns primarily. And I've had to reset that boundary with some people many times because it's not something that they're used to. It's not something that's really on their radar. And so for me to hold the boundary of asking them to step into that with me, that awareness of using my pronouns, I have to reset it. I get to reset it. Whoop, I caught myself. More transformational language. I get to reset it. I have the privilege and the safety of having people in my life who do care about me and respect me, and I get to reset that boundary with them. And that is how I hold that boundary. So sometimes it's as simple as that, and we just reset it a few times. Sometimes we do have people in our lives who flatly refuse to respect our boundaries or don't seem to care at all. Or we have situations in our lives, situationships, work situations, etc. And it is worth continuing to reevaluate if those situations or those people are not creating a capacity for you to set and hold boundaries. It might be worth reevaluating if those are the best situations for the person you are growing into and the life that you are building. I realize this kind of thing doesn't happen overnight. It takes time to make these shifts in the communities that we're part of, the jobs that we hold, the roles that we hold. And sometimes there is a little bit of natural give and take in life. There might be someone who it takes a really long time for them to understand your boundary, and you're willing to give them some patience for that. That's totally up to you. Again, I'm here to support if there's conversations around any of that that you want. Then we get to number 8. If desired, create space for processing. And I mean this for you personally and for the person you're holding the boundary for or setting the boundary with. So, first of all, create space for processing for yourself. How did it feel to set that boundary? How do you feel in your body as you continue to hold it? Processing could be journaling about it. Processing could be writing a song, singing a song, dancing, moving about it, drawing about it, yelling into a pillow about it, or just giving yourself time to think. So much of our lives are so busy that we don't really give our minds time to just kind of mull things over. So maybe if it was a really big boundary to set, you could take a moment to sit back in your house and just stare at the ceiling. And maybe that's enough. Now, if desired, create space for processing for the person for whom you set the boundary. This is totally optional. Sometimes we're in a very loving, nurturing relationship, and it feels really good to create space for processing with the other person. I set a new boundary with one of my partners um, back in November. I stated a way that I wanted a certain experience to go and how I was curating that for myself. And I knew my partner might have some challenging emotions that would come up around that. And I intentionally bracketed some time later. We call it bracketing in our somatic CBT course. Um, Bracketed some time later for them, for both of us to process that boundary together because I knew that I would want to offer that to them. That would feel really good to me to give us both some space to talk about how it felt and where we go from here and how it felt for them, how it felt for me, etc. It is not your job to hold space for processing for other people. You are absolutely empowered. Take this as me empowering you to set a boundary without the need to take on their processing if that feels safer or healthier for you. There are some people in our lives who are not going to understand our boundaries, no matter how many times we reset them, no matter how gently and lovingly we communicate them. And it is not our job to help them process their feelings around it if they are not also like holding space for our feelings in a reciprocal way. So that is for your discernment to sit with and move with and figure out what feels good to you. And I'm totally here to talk about that if you need more support. Now have a dance party, but really shake your thing. It's somatics. So sometimes we do a really serious thing like setting a boundary. And sometimes some boundaries are so serious and so intense. And later, we totally get to throw a party about it because that is how we tell our bodies on a cellular level that boundaries are fun and that it is a good thing to celebrate doing, even when it's challenging, even when we need to resource ourselves so much because it can be so intense. We get to have a dance party. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Okay? That's my speech about that. Seriously. And let me move right along here. A few more things to consider. If your communication is not received as desired, consider these three things when reapproaching the scenario. If you're not sure if you're being heard the way you intend to be heard, ask. So much of our communication is assumptive. Oh, I just know that this is one I hear a lot. Women just don't think that way, or men just don't get this. That is so assumptive. Ask each other. Ask people if they understand what you mean, or if they got your intention behind it. And if it's really not working, other things to consider are tone of voice, eye contact, and clear, concise word choice. So much is conveyed through our tone of voice, through our eye contact, and through our word choice. It is actually a real statistic this time, not joking like the other video. 70 to 93% of communication is nonverbal. There's been a lot of studies done. This number has kind of morphed over the years because there's so many factors that go into it. Neurospice, whether we're online or not, how the human mind is actually changing because of technology, etc. But we're at about 70 to 93%, depending on the situation, depending on the relationship. That's a pretty big percent. So the words we say are not all of it. And that's why it's so important to consider these other nuances like the tone of voice, eye contact, body language. And this fact is why, if our bodies aren't on board and aligned with our message, it won't go through. If our self talk is sabotaging us, like, well, you've never been able to set a boundary before, then we're going to be like shifty and agitated, and that's going to read through. If we aren't resourced somatically and we're taking little shallow breaths because we're really nervous and our voice doesn't sound as clear and like you get what I'm saying, right? We're we're not even in a place where we can calmly and clearly and effectively set the boundary. So everything going on behind the scenes of the words we say and even contributing to the word choice that's available to us has to support what we're saying to land the plane. That's why we work this way in Whole Body Communicator, because our trauma patterns can throw off our delivery and limit the responses we have available to us. I'll add on top of this that's why boundary setting in person is really helpful, if it's available and if it's safe. It absolutely can be done over the phone. Zoom call is also effective. It's great if you can allow people to have a visual of you. You don't really have eye contact on Zoom because you're either staring at a camera or looking at an image, but you can get a lot of the body language and the nuances. Yeah. So now go out and apply this formula everywhere. You now have the full whole body communicator formula. And granted, this is only a tiny slice of the pie. It's just how we apply it to boundary setting, but hopefully you can start to see how you could apply this to other types of communication and other situations. And hopefully you're excited about doing that. Here's your call to action. I am so grateful that you chose to give yourself the gift of taking in this information, and I really hope that you've learned something new or learned something old in a new way, and this will positively impact your life. If you'd like to learn more, I am always here for more. And I would like to just reiterate that knowing all of this information is not quite the same thing as doing it. I'm sure you know that. And it's also not the same thing as having a support person to walk through this with you, holding you accountable, helping you figure out the nuance of how to apply this formula to each part of your life, learning all of the different somatic tools and figuring out exactly which ones work best for your body, your specific trauma history, learning more about tracking your own sensations and what feels supportive to you, learning how to, even with the support person, intentionally in a small way agitate a trigger and then support it to learn how to move through those triggered emotions and experiences with a resourced way. There's so much that we do in the Whole Body Communicator program. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So this is your official invitation to join Whole Body Communicator. If this is not the right time for you or I'm not the right practitioner for you, it's okay. It's okay. Just keep going. Keep learning, keep exploring. Take this as a launching off point and learn more. I just want you to feel empowered on your healing journey, whether that means joining me or continuing on to do more of your own research and your own soul search. The Whole Body Communicator program is a 12-week program that applies the three-phase method that you just learned to your own personalized goals in healing your trauma patterns and your communication. It's $333 per session, but if you mention that you did this mini course when you book your free strategy session, I'll give you a discount. And even if you are not feeling sure at this point if this is the right approach for you, the right program, or even if I'm the right practitioner, I still want you to take advantage of booking a free strategy session because there's so much more personalized work we can do in even just one session. And I would love to meet you and get to know what's going on for you. With that, I will officially close. Thank you for making your way through all three of these videos with me. As always, I'm here for more in love and healing. So great to be with you.